Hi, welcome to Kylie in the kitchen. Today I'm going to go savory and teach you how to make barbecue pulled pork with homemade barbecue sauce, homemade coleslaw, and then I'm going to bake a sweet potato and teach you how to assemble it all and put it together into a delicious meal. For the pork, you need approximately 4 pounds of pork shoulder and set it aside. We're going to make a dry spiced blend to rub on the pork and let it marinate for about 3 to 4 hours or overnight. 1/2 a cup of paprika. To the paprika, add 2 tablespoons of salt, 2 tablespoons of black pepper. I also added 2 tablespoons of chili powder. I added 2 teaspoons of cumin and 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Then you stir together the spices and rub onto the pork. Once the pork shoulder is completely covered in the dry spice rub, wrap the pork in plastic tightly and refrigerate for 3 hours or up to a day to let the spices soak into the meat. For the barbecue sauce, it's a 1-pot sauce, so you'll put 3 whole tomatoes that have been diced into a pot, along with 4 chopped cloves of garlic, 1 whole white onion chopped, all in the pot. Add 1 6-ounce can of tomato paste, add 1 cup of beef stock or beef broth, add 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon of ground dried thyme, 2 tablespoons of paprika, 1 teaspoon of sea salt, 1 teaspoon of ground black pepper, 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and also 6 to 8 ounces of pineapple that's been chopped to add a little bit of sweetness to the sauce. Once all of your sauce ingredients are in the pot, start cooking it on medium-high heat until it starts to cook down. This is the simmering homemade barbecue sauce. It's been simmering on low to medium heat for about 30 minutes. I'm still going to let it keep simmering for about 20 to 30 minutes more before turning off the heat. Stir the sauce and then turn off the heat to allow it to cool to room temperature. Unwrap your pork. Inside of a crock pot is 1 whole onion sliced, and we're going to put our pork shoulder right on top and let it start cooking for a few hours until it starts to pull apart. We will start this delicious dinner recipe by washing and towel drying the sweet potatoes, and then poking with a fork. I'll poke holes into the potato. After you've poked holes in your sweet potatoes, wrap each potato in aluminum foil, leaving a hole in the top of the aluminum foil for steam to escape. Bake in a 375-degree oven for about an hour until they're soft and delicious. After about an hour, remove the potatoes from the oven. The vegetable portion of the coleslaw recipe I'm making today is semi-homemade. I opted for a prepackaged coleslaw sliced bag of vegetables instead of slicing it myself, which is the same thing. It's literally 1 head of green cabbage, 1 head of red cabbage, and about 2 to 3 carrots that are sliced. This sauce is the sauce for the coleslaw, so it's 1 cup of melted coconut oil, 1/4 a cup of apple cider vinegar, 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard, 1 teaspoon and a half of ground garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of honey, and some salt and pepper to taste. This is what the final product of the coleslaw will look like after the vegetables have been tossed in the dressing. Then you refrigerate so that the flavors will absorb into the vegetables and it will be even more tasty when you eat it later. After about 3.5 hours on high heat from the crock pot, the pork is ready to be pulled out of the crock pot, and you can place it to let it rest on a cutting board. I prefer to let it rest in a big pot. That way it will sit in its own juices rather than running off your cutting board. As the pork begins to cool a little bit, take your forks and it will twist and peel off your pulled pork right off of the bone. When all you have is bone left, discard the bone. Continue to shred the pork in the pan with the forks until it's all pulled properly. Make sure that you pull any of the bigger chunks into smaller chunks with 2 forks to make it look like this. After all of the pork has been pulled off the bone into shredded meat, pour about 2 cups of the barbecue sauce on top of the shredded meat. I tasted the sauce and it's a little spicy for my taste buds, so I did add 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar and 2 teaspoons of honey to add a more sweet and acidic kick.